Hi, good good day, and how are you? My name is Kazim Abubola. I'm going to be speaking about sponsorship valuation. The basic agenda to this part of the program is really give a context of what sponsorship is about, because I think it's critical to just take an overview of sponsorship, because it's essential for us to just take a quick view of what exactly it is that we are going to be valuing. So I'll do a quick overview of that. I'll speak about why sponsorship matters within the context of marketing, how sponsorship works, and then just go deep into how valuation is done. Give some practical guidelines of how the practice of valuation is attempted. What are the best practices and methodologies for measuring value within sponsorship? And then at the end, I will give a case study, a couple of case studies of some valuation that has been done and how a fair market price is arrived at for an asset, for a sponsorship asset. And then some templates that can help us go into this. So the outcome of this model will be that by the end we will understand the fundamentals of sponsorship. We'll understand how brands use sponsorship to connect with their customers, with their target audience, and what are the variables used in measuring value and tracking sponsorship objectives. So, going deep into it, what is sponsorship? Sponsorship is defined as the association of a brand with a marketing asset, whether sports, events, art, what have you, and the leveraging of that association in order to positively impact on the brand or the image, or even sales. Sponsorship is a relationship building tool. It's just not concerned about brand awareness. It engages with the audience both on a rational and an emotional basis. We'll speak more about the emotional connection within the sponsorship transfer. Sponsorship is mutually advantageous between the business and the properties or the stakeholders within the sponsorship landscape. It provides benefits for the sponsored in exchange for a result that can be measured against pre-defined objectives. There are typical sponsorship rights because really what we are going to be valuing is the rights transfer, what rights and asset is given to a brand. So the typical sponsorship rights from is designation as an official partner, an official sponsor. If you look at the Olympics, the Olympic partners are official sponsors. Part of the rights that could be negotiated for is category exclusivity, such that within my category or my brand category, no other sponsor will be within that space. Rights to use the identity, the marks and logos of the assets. Association with media buying or media buy of the assets. On-site displays and exhibitions, on-site sales, VIP tickets, on-site branding, access to database is a very critical one, and so on and so forth. Now, sponsorship valuation is a service within the gamut of sponsorships. And the services that sponsorship offers are diverse, from obviously strategy consulting, seeking sponsors, competitive analysis, obviously valuation, sponsorship valuation, evaluation, creating a property, sponsorship exploitations, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the services. Now, the elements of sponsorship are the rights. In essence, a deal is simply an exchange of rights, and it's important that those rights are properly discussed, properly deliberated on, and negotiated on. Is the ownership of the rights clear? Can the rights be defined contractually? Are the rights being sold on an exclusive basis, on an exclusive basis, and so on? Are there existing deals in place? So on top of the rights is now for us to now properly negotiate the value of the sponsorship. And in negotiating the value, you're looking at the size of the audience, of the assets, what media access does it have, what media reach does it have, how long should the deal be for, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending. What are the value of the tangible and intangible factors, and then benchmarks. So sponsorship must be benchmarked on a reference point. The valuation must be benchmarked. We'll speak more a bit about that. There is in-kind sponsorship as well. And then of course part of the element is really the experience. The experience of the sponsorship, physical experiences, virtual experiences, bringing to life the would-be sponsorship is very critical. So, why do companies sponsor? Companies sponsor for many reasons, to build brand loyalty, which is one of the critical reasons why companies sponsor, for visibility and awareness purposes. Social responsibility is another very critical one. And of course, sales. Sponsors will sponsor an asset because it helps them to increase their sales figures. Sometimes it's just simply to entertain clients. So we will sponsor a program in order to have access to VIP tickets or back passes for VIP clients. Now, when you look at the gamut of marketing practice, what you find, and this is research, what you find is that sponsorship ticks all the boxes if done properly. This research showed that in scoring all the different medium, sponsorship comes top. And the reason why this is that, there's a saying that if advertising winks at the customer, that what sponsorship does is that it hugs the customers, it gets to know them, it builds a relationship with them. Sponsorship done properly is an amazing relationship building tool that gets emotional with the target audience as compared to other, should I say, one-dimensional medium. Now, sponsorships comes with many different assets, and in valuation, we don't really consider ourselves much with the features of those assets. We consider ourselves with the potential benefits that the assets can offer. So when you look at the different assets, it's important to understand what benefits each asset is going to give you. So if you look at the audience base, the benefits to that is not 100,000 people. It is the access that one will have to that audience. If you look at the traffic from the website, it is the reach that is the benefit. If you look at, say, signages, it is the impressions that you get from viewing those signages. Now, there are diverse reasons why sponsorship will continue to work. One of the critical reasons is that it helps to physically demonstrate the corporate values of a brand that are in consonance, in tandem with the values of the assets. There has to be a link, and I'll speak a bit later about the sweet spots that sponsorship offers. There has to be an alignment of values. So when a brand is sponsoring an asset, it is important that the brand values are transferable and relatable to the values of the asset. So sponsorship offers a manifestation of that brand, meaningful mechanism for building customer relations. Sponsorship obviously is also used to build new distribution and sales channel. So there are many diverse reasons why sponsorship will continue to work into the long term. How does sponsorship work? Now, it works by looking at both the tangible and the intangible assets and benefits, and an exchange of those values. It helps in enhancing brand loyalty, brand image. It helps to switch behavior. So if a group of customers or a group of targets aren't really keen on one's brand, by the time there's a relationship with them in sponsoring an asset that they love, then it's transfer of affection from the assets they love to that brand. That's how sponsorship works. Now, we usually use a methodology in selecting the kind of assets or sponsorship assets that one would need to go for. And this 8-pronged approach is primarily to know the brand. You must know your brand very, very well. Know the needs, the pain points of the business as well. Then, once that is done, is to identify very clearly the role that sponsorship can play in addressing those needs. Then, very clearly, post that is now define measurable objectives, establish objectives for the sponsorship. Then now look for a strategic property that is able to meet those needs and address those needs. Then, of course, secure the commercial rights with that asset. Then develop an extensive sponsorship strategy with very intentional leveraging extensions for that asset. How will the sponsorship be exploited? What are the plans for engaging with the audience in a meaningful way that can build long-term relationships? And then at the end of it is measure. You must measure the impact of the predetermined objectives for the brand. So the post-reporting is very essential. Now, in selecting a sponsorship, as I've tried to build a case for, there are several screens that one must use in arriving at a preferred asset for the brand. The first screen is the consumer screen, which is the target market screen. What exactly do the customers want? What do they consume? How do they consume what they consume? We must have a deep understanding of the target market, and then we must have a deep understanding of our brand. So the brand screen, what exactly are we about? What are our values? What are our needs as a brand? And then the last but not the least would be the sponsorship screen, to say that what then can sponsorship do? How can sponsorship build that bridge within the target market and the brand? And what kind of sponsorship engagement could help to address the needs of the target market and, of course, of the brand as well. Now, once these screens are looked at, it's imperative to also set what the grading structure must be, to say that if I look at my target market screen, what must be the pass mark, what must be the score for both the target market screen, brand screen, and sponsorship screen. The other critical issue is the owners of the assets, their responsiveness, the integrity of the asset that they have, the rigor with which they must ensure that that asset can deliver value, the fact that they're not transactional and purely looking at extracting monies, and there will be a values exchange. Is very, very critical. The asset must not be overpriced, which is what valuation comes in. The value of a sponsorship asset is not the price or the amount of money that the owners of the asset are looking to get. I mean, it must be that an asset is offering extensive value. And of course, I mean, before a brand engages with a sponsorship asset, the brand must be sure that there is a budget for this. And the budget cannot be only for the acquisition of the asset. It must be that for every 1,000 naira in acquiring an asset, the brand must be ready to commit between 2,000 to 4,000 naira. That's like 2 to 4 for every 1 naira that is invested in an asset. The leveraging must be extensive. Now, still going on about the target market screen and brand screen in arriving at a sponsorship asset. So if we look at this quadrant, we will see that where we have a high passion for, if a passionate target group that are keen and are able to deliver on the needs of a brand, that's what is called a sweet spot within sponsorship, where a highly engaged set of audience are the right type of audience that a brand needs for sales, for engagement, for what have you. It's very, very critical. Now, the way this works is that sponsorship works best by an equity transfer. The equity of the property is transferred to the brand, and vice versa. There are some brands that will rub off negatively on a sponsorship property, and obviously there's some properties that are negative for a brand to participate with or to engage with. The consumer's memory about a property is always linked to the sponsoring brand. The target group are very conscious of the brands that sponsor their passion. They are very conscious of it. So that equity transfer is very, very key. The equity cannot be already overdrawn. Otherwise, it's a liability. A well-selected property followed with good leverage. I mentioned the 2-to-4 ratio, either 2-to-1 or 4-to-1 at the minimum in terms of leverage. So a well-selected property followed with excellent leveraging can raise the openness of the consumer to try a product out by as much as 40%. That's what research has shown. Now, I wanted to just give that initial background to really the essence of what is looked for in valuation when we look at both the tangibles and the intangibles, and why it makes sense for brands to sponsor, and when they sponsor, why they sponsor, how they sponsor, what the transfer of assets is, what the transfer of value is, what the transfer of equity is. So it's very essential to take that quick overview to see what we're engaging with.